1, 2, 3, 4.
I didn't hear your clap.
I mean, it's muffled in Discord. Remember, 5 seconds of silence for white noise. A moment of silence for the dearly departed. Thank you. Alright, I'm going to start with the content warning the author wants me to use. Shit, I lost it. Scroll. Alright, there's a content warning from the author. This is a healing story, but the journey towards catharsis winds through dark, thorny territory. Potentially triggering content includes verbal and physical abuse, suicide, suicidal ideation, loss of a parent at a young age, and self-harm. A similar content warning from the podcast hosts. Since these topics are discussed in the book, we will likely bring them up during our discussion, and our opinions may or may not, let's just say, vibe with the general populace.
Yeah.
We don't script our podcast, so we don't know if it's going to come up, but it might.
Yeah. Our podcast is done off the cuff. We do not write down our lines or anything.
And then I'll clip the music in here. And alright, welcome everyone to the World of Dragon podcast, a podcast where a dragon and his rider get together to discover, review, and discuss dragon-centric media and literature, including but not limited to books, movies, shows, and games, to help you dragon fans find the next world of dragons you wish to visit. I am your host, Ray, who is still a little congested from a little sickness I've had, so hopefully it's not too egregious in the recording.
Yeah.
And with me here is Bantam, my rider.
Hello, and I caught his dragon sickness.
Imagine a giant dragon with a cold. So much phlegm.
And fire. It's like shotgun blast
of
fire.
Actually, if the dragon is able to breathe fire consistently, they would probably never really have phlegm or sniffles or anything, because they could just and get rid of it all. Just fire.
Well, I don't think they'd get sick anyway, because the fire would, sterilize their throat.
It depends on, I guess, how the fire works and how much fire there is in general, how magical the dragon is in question. I have read some books where dragons have gotten sick before, so it really depends on the universe.
Yeah. I caught the flu, and then right around the time where I started recovering, Ray caught it. And I'm still dealing with congestion. He is still dealing with not being able to breathe. I've just reached the congestion.
Yeah, I've hit the congestion stage, so hopefully a couple more days and we're both better.
Hopefully.
We don't know how long this is going to last, but whatever. Who knows? I'm going to get a whole bunch of emails saying, hey, your voice is better with the congestion.
I mean, it does typically.
That's been a story point in a couple of sitcoms that I've seen, where someone gets the cold and it makes them super their voice is deep and nasally because they just can't talk properly, and it does wonders for their singing voice or something.
Yeah, well, it drops your voice a couple. What was it, octaves or I don't know.
Yeah, octaves are basically levels as far as tone goes, tone and pitch. All right. Anyway, so yes, we've been sick. Sorry. Hopefully, it's not too bad in the recording. But yeah. So welcome. Today we are We're reviewing the book Smash the World Shell, which has been, would you say, suggested to us? I don't know.
Requested of us.
Requested, that's the word. I can't think of the fucking word. It's been requested by one of our listeners because they wrote it themselves. I want not their screen, I want the author name. So, Smash the World Shell by Daniel Fliederbaum. So, first things first, to you, Daniel, just because you gave us review copies, which thanks to you so much, by the way, we are going to be truthful.
Yeah, we're not going to, just one thing that I want to tell everybody is that just because we get a review copy doesn't mean that we're going to be super, super nice.
Yeah, it's like you know, like YouTubers get accused of like lying all the time because it's paid sponsor. They don't mean what they say. It's like, nah, we're going to give our actual honest opinions, and some of them might be a little bit rough. Uh, like, to be honest, this book is going to be really difficult for me to review because I can tell that this was not written for me.
Yeah.
Like you said in your content warning, it deals with a lot of trauma and healing and all that, which I have been very lucky. I don't have any of that. My family life was very wonderful and very loving, and I have nothing to relate to these characters with. And so, honestly, a lot of it went over my head. A lot of the scenes, I was like rolling my eyes and like, no way they react like that. That's not how that works. And it might. It really might. This book could be very important to some people who have had to deal with trauma like that, and so maybe it means more to them. But to me, let's just say on some of it,
Yeah.
right?
And on my
Uh,
end, I did grow up with a lot of trauma, and absolutely nothing in this book spoke to me. I grew up with a lot of physical abuse, a lot of verbal and mental abuse, um, and as I got older, I just got over it. I don't sympathize with a lot of what's happening in this book. It
okay,
feels,
but like you specifically, you got over it because you ended up getting friends. You had some people before me, but then you also got me, and I'm the best friend ever.
yeah, that is
Like
true.
the point in these characters' lives is before they found the friends to help them get through
Yeah,
it.
I think this book was written for people who are definitely looking for an outlet. And the
They
thing
need
is
companionship of some kind.
this book is a very complicated puzzle piece that only fits in very complicated puzzles.
It is
Um,
a very niche kind of setting. Well, let's call it.
yeah, I don't feel like this is a catch-all for anyone who is looking to help heal through their trauma, because I mean I had a lot of it. I'm not going to get into any of it because that's an entire podcast episode alone. But not that it's ever going to be. But yeah, none of this vibed with me, and it made it really, really difficult to get through this book.
He's just being super honest up front. Okay, I was going to say that don't be discouraged, even if I didn't vibe with a lot of the messages you were trying to put in it, because you still should feel very proud. You wrote something, people have loved it. I have peeked into the Wormworks subreddit where people were talking about your book in the thread that was made for that, because it's the book of the month or whatever, and a lot of people love it. So don't be discouraged just because we didn't vibe with it, all right? There were a lot of scenes that I really did love, and I will get to that possibly in the second half because they're kind of spoilery. So there were a lot of things that I loved, but like my honest opinion, because we're in the review section of this right now, is while there were some great payoffs, there were some wonderful scenes, and there were a couple of quotes that I actually did really love, and I wrote down one or two of them to share later on. A lot of the middle ground, the middle points, the interconnecting scenes, a lot of those felt either forced or rushed. Like you had a bunch of to me it felt like you had a bunch of good ideas and you just had trouble getting from one idea to the next. The ideas themselves were really good, but the interconnecting parts were a little rocky. And that could just be, again, because I don't have anything to relate to these people with. But Bantam, I guess since we're going straight into it, I lost my train of thought. It just disappeared. My brain's not working because I'm sick. Give me a second. Rebooting. Boop, boop, boop. Okay, so to give a brief, spoiler-free kind of, not summary, but just a synopsis, the book follows two main characters. One is a human and one is a dragon. So dragon fans looking for just more dragon material, one of the main characters is a dragon. They are sapient, they are intelligent, they have a society, they have buildings, they have culture. So that's already great. The main dragon character, his name is Shard, and his story arc kind of follows around with just like loving himself. I guess his general story arc.
Yeah, his
And
general story arc seems to be, coming to terms with the fact that he's not like other dragons. Um, a lot of it is, talking to himself about why he's different and why that's a problem.
mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the human main character, her name is Ellen, and she has a deep sense of loneliness. Is kind of what I got from is her starting point. Uh, Her mother killed herself when she was very young, and that traumatized her in a way to where she's like, no one is ever going to stay with me. Everyone's going to leave eventually because the fact that her mom committed suicide means my mom didn't want to be with me, so she just left. Right? That's kind of how she processed that. So she's dealing with an insane sense of loneliness and I guess a little bit of self-worth, like she's not worth being stuck around with. So that's their starting point, and then what the story is it's generally, I would describe it as mildly slice of life because it's just a couple scenes as they each go through their different days in their different villages, the different cities, whatever, and then they meet up every now and then, and they just become friends. It's just the story itself is just two different people kind of becoming friends. It's like Romeo and Juliet, but without actual romance. They just become best friends.
Yeah. That's actually a really good one, Romeo and Juliet. I was gonna make the men are from Mars, women are from Venus joke.
I haven't seen that or read it or whatever it is. I
Neither
know
have
it's
I.
been like
It's just a saying.
it's a saying, but I think it's based off of something. I don't
it
fucking know.
well, I don't know, but yeah, essentially they're from two different worlds that don't mesh well together, but they become friends.
Yeah. So yeah, there are a couple of combat scenes towards the end, so maybe you could consider it to be like a contemporary fantasy. Well, that's more of a saying. It's not really an action fantasy. It's definitely more of a slice of life and more of a dialogue exchange, and just that kind of stuff. I'm feeling really hard trying to describe the genre of the book, but I don't know the term.
No, I think Slice of Life covers it really well because yes, there is combat toward the end of the book, but that is like a small piece. The rest of it is a lot of interpersonal relationships and dealing with those interpersonal relationships. It it
Mm,
it's very much a slice of life book, I think.
yeah. All right. So since we kind of got that really, really uh, bad synopsis out of the way, again, I'll
The
get better at
it's
like describing things. I have trouble putting my thoughts to words sometimes,
the
especially
other
when
the other
my
problem
brain is
is that
foggy.
it's difficult to talk about this book without spoiling the major because it kind of
That
just
is a big part of it.
it just this book in order to describe it without spoiling anything for the after the spoiler break, I mean that's it. There's not a lot of other things to talk about.
Trasnix in the Discord says, "Would it be a drama genre?" And I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, personal drama.
yeah, drama.
Drama works." All right,
Slice
so
of life drama.
that's actually pretty good. That's probably the best we're gonna get. Anyway, so Bantam, real fast. We're gonna go through these bullet points before we get to the break because we're gonna try to speed run the first half, just because, like you said, a lot of the stuff to talk about is spoilery.
Yeah.
But real fast, how would you say the quality of the book was? The dialogue, the writing style, that kind of
Um
stuff.
so the book was very much on the simple side, very accessible. As far as dialogue, the dialogue is where it lost a lot of points for me. I'd say 3 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a lot of the use of the word freaking, and that just didn't sound right, especially when the dragon said it. Um,
Yes.
they
So the what how oh my god, I
hold on.
can't talk.
One of the things that's established very early on in the book is that the dragons and the humans don't realize that the other are intelligent. The humans think the dragons are beasts, and the dragons think the humans are beasts, and so they don't know that they can speak to each other, which you'll find out why they can in a little bit. But the dragons talk like valley girls, and that really, really bothered me.
Yeah, the dragons have a lot of modern day mannerisms in their speech,
Which they
which
shouldn't. They
yeah,
absolutely should not. They the fact that they constantly are saying things like "Oh my God" and "freaking God," but they replace God with their God.
yeah.
Um,
I actually wrote down a couple of them when I was like really picking it up on them. Uh, so, do, do, do. Okay, so at one point when Shard is talking about cars, which he doesn't know what they are, so he's talking to Ellen about cars. He says those weird metal thingies with wheels. I don't feel like a dragon should say thingies. I feel like that should have been more like those metal contraptions with wheels, or the moving metal boxes,
Yeah,
or
thingies.
something. But like thingies was a little weird.
Thingies is a very much a modern day, civilized human saying,
Hmm.
not dragons living in a tribal society.
Yeah. Another one is their version of "Oh my God" because their god is named Agito. Uh, they would always say "sweet freaking Agito," and again, I don't think dragons would say "freaking" like that.
No,
That feels like a very modern day human. What's the term? Colloquialism.
colloquialism. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it just felt weird coming from the dragons.
The thing is
Another point.
and I wanna preface more. You can keep going after this, but I want to preface that this is personal opinion. But like
Yeah.
while we were doing the book, um, at least me, every time those things happened, it like shocked me out of reading the book. Like there were a couple times where a dialogue would happen, and I went, "Oh my god!" and I'd stop reading and go do something else because it bothered me so much.
Yeah. It's would be worth bringing up later on when we get to the verisimilitude part, but it definitely reeked of humans in dragon suits. Is what the problem was.
Yeah, there was a lot of human and dragon suit stuff.
Yeah. At another part, Shard says, "It won't take long. You'll blink and go, damn, that was speedy as all get out." I'm like, that's extremely modern. Which again, so the human society is a very modern society. It's even slightly futuristic. They have some sort of force field. I don't think they ever explained what the dome was.
It's
Uh,
literally a magical shell that goes over the city and prevents anything from crossing.
yeah, but like they have smartphones. They're
They
in
have
the
internet.
process of digitizing all of their written material for whatever reason. So they're like taking books and they're putting it online onto like an online library resource, and then like destroying the books. I think because they need the paper for something else. I don't know. So the humans themselves are very modern or postmodern, and so the humans talking like that completely fine, 100% okay. It's just it felt really weird with the dragons talking like that.
Yeah. The fact that they live in caves and they use magic, uh, using human terms like that was kind of off-putting.
Yeah. Besides that, was the rest of the quality of the writing okay?
Yeah. Yeah, it was very accessible. He didn't do the author did not do the thing that pisses me off the most, which is making up stupid terms for shit. I hate that.
No, but
I
there
will.
were a couple of times where I had to look up a word, so either either Daniel has a much bigger vocabulary than me, or he was sitting with the thesaurus every now and
No, I
then.
I I I got everything out of it. So,
I did not write down any examples, so I can't give them. But they were just a couple of words. I was like, wait, what?
well,
What word is that?
when I was younger, I used to read a lot of books that were above my reading level. Let's say, when they say, "Oh, this is like a fifth or sixth grade reading," whatever. I read whatever the hell I wanted, whether it was difficult to read or not. And so, yeah, every once in a while, a word will come up, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" Like I remember when I was a kid and the word plethora first came up, and I was like, "What is that?" And I looked it up, and it became like a meme in my family for years because I thought it was a stupid word. Like to use the word plethora in a sentence is dumb when you can just say a bunch or a lot of them or whatever. And so
Hmm.
it became a running gag. But I've become numb to those types of words. So any big words that could just be simplified, I breeze right over them.
Yeah. My only other critique on the quality was that yeah, I did feel like a lot of the interconnecting scenes, I'll call them, were rushed or forced. But besides that, it was pretty good. There were definitely some scenes that I really liked, like I said before, and I'll get into those more specific later. Uh, One thing I do want to point out, just on formatting, and this is only worth bringing up because I kind of bashed the author of Scales of Fate, whose name I already forgot because I'm just bad with names. I like brought up a couple of their formatting issues. They're like, oh, they had the same character talking over two different paragraphs, and they did a closing quotation mark on the first paragraph. So the second paragraph, I immediately thought someone else was responding, and so I had to do a double take halfway through that. Um, it's worth noting that that was not a problem with this book. The formatting was a bit better. The punctuation was used more properly. The only thing formatting wise that I will critique is I don't know if this is industry standard or not, or if it's just what I got used to from the books that I read doing it all the time. But there were a couple of time skips within a chapter, like 5 hours or a day. Like the characters will be doing something, and then the next day they're doing this other thing. I'm used to time skips inside a chapter like that having a page break, like enter dash 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 enter new paragraph. Right? That's just what I'm used to. I don't know if that's standard or not, but that's just worth pointing out. The next point is the believability, the realism, the verisimilitude. With the exception of the modern day lingo being used by the dragons, the rest of it felt believable. It was fine. There was magic involved, and the magic was explained in a way that I could believe it. I actually really liked how the dragon magic worked in the sense that they charge from either the moon or the sun, depending if they're like a day or night caster. I don't know what the term is. So like most of the dragons they got their magic powers during the day just by being out in the sun, but Shard himself got it at night, so when everyone's asleep he would be like out on the roof out by the river, just kind of absorbing magic from the moon and the starlight and whatnot. I thought that was really cool. I guess it's worth pointing out that the only other thing that was a little hard to swallow as far as believability goes is the humans and dragons each thinks the other is like wild savage beasts that can't talk or anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's why they're kind of okay killing each other.
Well,
I
they
think
can't.
it's a
Yeah,
little,
they can't understand each other. The only reason why the main character
but I mean,
couldn't.
they're absolutely surprised when they're like, "You just spoke. You can talk." Like that's a big point that happens at several points throughout the book.
I find it incredibly difficult and hard to believe that at no point while fighting dragons that no one yelled out anything. And even if
Well,
you can't understand the other person, a human being talking or shouting out commands to anyone else would be seen as a language even if you can't understand it. So the shock of, "Oh my god, you can talk," is kind of
yeah, exactly. I was gonna say that language barrier aside, to think the other race is wild and savage and just beasts, right? Like so often do the humans say the dragons are just beasts or they're just animals or they're just monsters, whatever. It's like both sides have architecture. Both sides have built things. I don't think you can say the other side is unintelligent when they have structures. So like that was a little weird. Like, oh, we're going to go and get orichalcum from these monsters. Who knows what they use it for, but we need it. It's like, no, they have farms, they have buildings that they live in, they're weaving baskets for crying out loud. It's like, don't you think you would stop and think, maybe just killing them and taking it is a bad idea? It's like, well, how about you set up trade for it? Like, find a scholar who wants to learn how to speak dragon, and then just start like trade routes. Let's go.
yeah.
But yeah, that's just an example of like I felt a couple of things were forced. Like I feel like the conflict between humans and dragons was forced because both were very obviously sapient, but they're very surprised. Like, well, you're actually people. Whoa, right? And then there were a couple other things that I can't remember exactly on top of my head, but there were a couple other scenes where I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't happen. Actually, the one I can remember is at the very, very end, and so that'll come later. Dream fulfillment. Bantam, was the book dragony enough?
No.
For a dragon fan that just wants to read about dragons, was the dragon fulfillment good enough?
7 out of 10. Like I said, it's a lot of dragon and human suit stuff. Um, like aside from occasionally mentioning that they're, you know, just sitting on his haunches or, using the word paws, they could have been humans easily.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as how they talked, It was very, very human
They were
dragon suit.
absolutely human in dragon suit.
As far as how they acted, very draggy. Like Shard and the rest of them, they used their wings and their tails a lot. They kind of referenced the fact that they were quadrupeds, just in some of their motions, and so that itself was really good, and I commend the author for that. I've brought up a couple times before. There have been other books I've read. They're usually lit RPGs where a human gets reincarnated as something else when he goes to another world or whatever. Where he now has a tail, he now has ears that are like movable. You know, like how a dog can like swap the ears back and forth, whatever.
Yeah.
They now have claws and fur, and none of that is ever mentioned. And it's the most egregious when the tail itself is never mentioned. Like they could literally just be a human. If it wasn't for the front cover being like a freaking kitsune or whatever, I would think that this book was just about humans because none of that stuff is ever mentioned. And so, like, thank you, good job. The dragons physically felt like dragons. Like, that was good. Gold star. I don't know if this would go before or after the spoiler break. It's early enough that I guess I can say, however, some of the cultural distinctions of the dragons I felt like was almost a little cartoonishly evil at the start.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say
Like,
so.
okay, so I guess it's fair to say during the start of the book, one of Shard's problems in his personal life is his older brother beats him, like backhand or claws him in the face or like throws him to the ground. Like his older brother bullies him because Shard is a very weak and mild and timid individual. Um, this book does want to try to tackle gender roles a little bit, which is a completely fine and valid thing to tackle in writing. It is definitely a problem for a lot of people, and this could be a very good outlet. And so an example of that is Shard likes to paint, but painting is a very feminine thing to do. Boy dragons are not allowed to paint. That is something only the girl dragons can do, right? Which, a bit hard to swallow, but sure, I guess there could be some cultures like that.
It's
But
incredible. The reason why it's incredibly hard to swallow for me is because the dragons are not described as ever doing anything. Like the leader, the chieftain Inferno, is like, oh, my dragons need to be strong, and the males need to learn to fight and use magic and blah 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 blah, and the women weave baskets, and it's like, okay, fine, but like at no point are they preparing to go to war. At no point are
yeah,
they prepping for anything important. So what does it fucking matter that
the
Shard
only
wants
thing
to
that
paint? It
yeah, the only
doesn't.
thing that Shard ever does besides painting or being left alone because the work for the day is done is just sit in a casting circle, channeling magic into crops.
Yeah,
Like that's
that's great, but like holy shit, there should be like there should have
yeah.
been
To reference another book that I've read that did something similar, there was a book called Call Me Dragon. I believe it's by Mark Secchia, and the main character there also deals with a very similar kind of issue. He is a much more sensitive dragon than other male dragons of his species and age and whatnot, in the sense that the boy dragons are usually off raiding castles, stealing princesses, fighting knights, that kind of stuff. And he just wants to paint. He's like, I don't want to deal with any of that. It sounds like dangerous and like pointless. I just want to be left at home, and I want to paint. I think he has a garden. I think he gardens. It's been so long since I've read it. But like the book opens with him going on a raid anyway. He's like, I'm gonna steal a princess just to say that I can and that I did it, and people get off my back. Like, so that was handled a bit more realistically. Because, when you're gonna have the men must be men macho attitude, have them go do
actually do
something very
go do the
machismo.
thing. Yeah, like the fact that, like you said, like he actually went out and raided. The dragons typically do actually go out and do things that involve them having to train.
Yeah,
Whereas I really honestly felt like 90% of the time the dragon, aside from going out to hunt for food, uh, none of the male dragons in the society seem to really do jack shit. So
yeah,
what is the problem with someone essentially having some alone time and doing whatever the fuck they want?
yeah. One of the, I guess, hushed threats throughout the book, it like never ever came to fruition, but like one of the things was always like, oh, the humans, they're gonna come and they're gonna kill us and they're gonna steal our orichalcum, right? It's like there could have been a scene where there was a little human party like out looking for an orichalcum deposit, getting a little too close to the village, so the warriors of the dragon village like rally up and they form a posse and they go and they ambush the human explorers, right? It's like that would have been a helpful scene to help show like why must the dragons all be super manly, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on. Bantam,
Yes.
X out of 5 stars, and would you live here?
2 out of 5 stars, and no.
I would give it 3 out of 5 stars. I'm being a little gentler because I think a lot of the stuff I didn't like was just because it didn't vibe with me. Like I said, I didn't have any connection to a lot of the characters. It's bad when one of my favorite characters is actually the bully character, right?
Yeah. So I wanted to mention that too, that the character I liked the most in this book was what's his name, Hunter?
Keeper.
Keeper. God, that's the other thing. All right, it, I don't want to just shit on this book. I did not like this book. It is a good book though for the right person, and the fact that a book exists and is in print is great, but it's like I absolutely liked Keeper, and the whole we'll get into it in the spoiler part. There's a major scene with Keeper that I was like, yeah, no, I'm on Keeper's side. But
Absolutely. Like the when the scene happens later on, we'll get to there. We'll get there. Okay.
yeah, we'll get there. But like I constantly when I would stop, like between readings or whatever, and I'd talk to Ray about the book, I kept fucking up Shard's name. I kept thinking Slate or Shale, and I don't know why, but I think it's just because I hated him so much. Like, I don't like him as a character. I don't like any of these people. I don't like any of them as characters, to the point where I can't even remember their names. I can remember Inferno. Absolutely can remember Inferno. But I kept wanting to call, I'm actually going to have to look up her name. What's her name? Ellen. I kept wanting to call her Ellie or Emma. I in my head, I just cannot lock down on these names because I just despise every single one of the characters. I would never be friends with Ellen. She's entirely unlikable as a person. And I would get really fed up and frustrated with being Shard's friend, because he's just so mopey and whiny all the time. And it's like, even when he has a good thing right in front of him, he still has to be mopey and whiny. And I I I have dealt with people like that in my real life, and I've been like, I don't have the energy for you anymore. Goodbye.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things to tackle here already. Oh my god. So one of the problems that I had with the book, and why I say the book is not for me, and so this is a lot of my personal opinion, is the fact that the toxic masculinity / cartoonishly evil aspects of dragonkind that you try to pitch as this is all bad is how I think dragons should be in a fantasy setting. Like, I think that dragons should be very large and very kind of, I don't use the term, they should be bullies, but, very, I'm large, I'm powerful, and I can do what I want, right? Because I like dragons when they are very powerful, intimidating creatures that can just force their will upon the world. To use like the D&D example, dragons are very high CR creatures that literally shape the land around them, right? Nothing stands up to them. Those are the kind of dragons that I like. So when you immediately throw out like oh no, that's all bad, dragons should be more like Shard, who is like slightly pacifistic and wants to be a vegan because, oh, I don't like eating meat. I just can't help but think of the poor little animal, but when it's dying, and it's like, no, you're a carnivore. Dragons eat meat. Get over it. Oh god.
Ray is. Oh god.
But it's like, Shard himself, I kind of was okay with Shard, with the exception of I don't agree with the direction you're trying to force Dragonkind to go into with these analogies that you're trying to make between what is good and what is evil in their society or whatever. Because I as much as I like big, powerful, strong, dominant dragons, right? I can also enjoy the small, timid, shy, please don't hurt me dragons. Like to use Wings of Fire as an example. My favorite characters were actually Morrowseer, who was a villain, Darkstalker, who's the biggest villain of them all, I actually liked Byrne the most out of the three sisters because she was just large and in charge and all that, right? But at the same time, I fucking loved Starflight. Starflight's adorable and I love him and I want to protect him. And Turtle, oh my god, Turtle's the greatest thing in the universe. Ah, so like I can enjoy both. But the problem with Shard is while I could like him, I could be like, don't worry, Shard, I will keep you safe. I want to hug his snout and tell you he's going to be alright because you're just a poor little baby and like I can enjoy that. The problem with Shard, like Bantam said, is that it was like his only personality trait for most of the book was, I'm sad.
Woe
Right?
is me. Yeah.
There, like it was said in the author's content warning that there was self-harm. At some point in the book, Shard literally cuts himself. Literally cuts himself. And like I understand that that is a big deal for people that go through that. And I'm very sorry if that's something that you struggle with and you really shouldn't do it because it doesn't actually help anything. Please get help if that's something that you have thought about doing. Talk to someone. But I guess me on my little pedestal of my life has been very trauma free up to this point. I just my patience for people that do that is very very low. Like like Bantam, you were completely fine and sane and all that, right? You would never do that. But I'm gonna use you as an example. As much as I love Bantam, if I found out that he was cutting himself and hurting himself like that, I would initially be very concerned. What's wrong? Please talk to me. Let's try to fix what's bothering you. Let's get you professional help. But if he like turned that down and like a month later was still doing this despite my concern, my professions of love and how much I care and value him and all that, if he was still doing it, I would probably drop him just because I don't have that kind of
Yeah.
patience. If you're so intent on being sad, then I'm sorry, right? And like this is why I wanted to give our own little concept one, like, hey, there's a lot of heavy topics going to come up that our opinions might upset people because my opinion is please get help. But if you don't for one reason or another, then I don't want to deal with you, and I'm sorry, and please don't bring your sadness to me because, like, is
I
that wrong
have
of me?
no, because so I have had several friends throughout my life who I think what happens is there's a point in their life where they're really depressed, they have a really bad day, and I'm there for them. I try to cheer them up. I try to do stuff with them. I try to, help them, fix whatever is ailing them. But there are certain types of people where the moment that you do that, it trips something in their brain where they go, I get attention when I'm miserable, and they attract that. They are like, well, now I'm always going to be miserable because when I'm miserable, then I have people doting on me all the time, and that's what I
Yeah,
want. And it's negative
I definitely
attention,
see that being a thing.
and I have dropped many friends because they are like that. And I don't have the energy for that type of person anymore. You can be sad, you can have a bad week or a bad month, but eventually get over it. Like, it's not always going to be that bad.
Well, okay,
Especially,
so hold on. I want to interrupt because I want to say that get over it is a little harsh
it
because a lot
is.
of things can't be getting
Well,
over.
the
Like we have a couple of trans friends that are going through really rough times because of all these stupid laws that are coming out that are oppressing their rights and stuff. And like that's not something you can just get over, right? That isn't even something that you can fix. So that is something that we have to be there to help them with. What?
that's a little different. That's something that could actually affect their ability to, stay out of prison or die, like those kind of things. But being sad because you can't paint and being sad because nobody understands me, that's considerably different than someone who is going through
Yeah.
gender identity disorders.
I guess I just want to amend the thing that I said earlier with like if you're still sad over a month, I'm going to drop you. It's like no, if it is an actual big problem that keeps persisting because we can't fix it, then I will of course always be there for you and whatnot because that's understandable. The problem that I have specifically is when you start to turn down the offered help, the solution that's right there, the way we could fix it. When you start turning that down because like Bantam said, you want to be sad because you get attention out of it, then that's when I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I don't have the patience for this. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
I felt like Shard did that a lot. Like, I'm miserable, I'm sad, and he's got Ellie or Ellen or what's her name,
Yeah,
um,
Ellen.
Ellen, constantly like, no, I'm your friend, like we're whatever, and he's just like, no, I'm gonna be sad, and it's like, oh Jesus Christ, all right, like if I were Ellen in that situation, I'd just throw my hands up and be like, all right, well, see ya. I mean, if you're gonna be sad, then I'll leave you to it. I don't have the energy for those kind of people. And the thing is this is all my personal experience, and this book is a personal journey, and it just doesn't vibe with certain people. That's fine. It just doesn't vibe with me. I'm not saying the book is bad for that. It's just me, my personal experiences. Shard is the type of person that would endlessly infuriate me. And so I couldn't sympathize with him throughout the book because I've dealt with people like him. And it's just, that's my personal, that I've dealt with that. I've dealt with people who just want to be sad all the time. And it absolutely infuriated me. And, then when, well, let's save that for the spoiler. Never mind.
We'll put a pin in this and come back to it later. Write yourself a little note so you don't forget. Like just open a notepad and go type.
Yeah.
Type it to me in Telegram if you want.
Okay.
Just so we don't forget. But yeah, so it's like, so to circle back to what initially started this tangent, our trademark World of Dragons tangents, right? Where I personally, I value the type of dragons that the author is trying to say are bad in this setting, too aggressive, too macho, too willing to push around those weaker than them. Like, while I can value those type of dragons, there are going to be other people like me who enjoy big, raw, scary, dominant dragons too, right? And so I guess this is just this is my opinion. I'm just sharing my opinion. I feel like this particular story of trauma and healing and whatnot may not have been best expressed through dragons, because it's kind of like how I think that Zootopia was a really bad allegory for racism. Because I don't know if Zootopia's only allegory is racism. It might have been a couple other things, but I see it come up a lot of times. People are like, Zootopia is about racism, because there's predators versus prey. It's all about race and whatnot, right? And it's like, no, it's a bad allegory, because in real life, racism is bad because humans are all generally the same, right? With very, very minor differences that really shouldn't matter. But in a setting like Zootopia, especially one where the animals are keeping their original traits, like the mice are very, very small and the elephants are very, very big. It's like, no, I'm sorry, there are actually hard-coded differences between you all. This isn't racist. This is how you people are actually made. Yeah, a bunny probably can't be a cop because she's too small and doesn't have any natural weapons to help subdue the larger, more aggressive troublemakers.
Especially in a society that doesn't seem to use guns. Like, what's
Because
a bunny
didn't,
gonna
so
do?
Can't.
What's a bunny cop gonna do against a polar bear? Nothing.
Get eaten is what. Anyway, so yeah. So, that was a 10.5. I give it 3 out of 5 stars, personally. I just didn't think it vibed with me. The book would be much better for other people, but I actually probably would live here, because while I didn't really enjoy the characters in the story that much, I actually really liked the world building. I liked the way they did magic. It was very Avatar-style elemental on the human side, and on the dragon side, it was very, I don't know, night and day. There wasn't
spiritual.
Really enough given. It was more spiritual, but they didn't really give a whole lot of info on the dragon side of how magic worked. I think it's more magic of like bettering yourself, because a lot of it was like expanding your senses or whatever. I don't know, but yeah. So we're gonna have a little musical break right now, real fast. If you haven't read it and you're interested, go and do so. It may be a great book for you. And then come back and we're going to talk about some of the story points, some of the more intricate character details. I guess one thing I'll say, with no context, this is not a spoiler. I'll explain my reasoning after the break. Everyone in this character is a selfish fucking ass. Everyone in this book, all the characters are selfish fucking assholes. Holy shit.
Yeah, one of the notes that I sent to Ray.
And we'll get into that after the break, right? Music time. Cough.
All right. Oh, fuck. All right, welcome back. We
Hi,
both
everybody.
we both had our little coughing fits.
Yep. Again, we'll bring up a lot of this is going to be our personal opinions. The book didn't vibe with us because we didn't have a lot to relate to these characters, and so we kind of just see the bad in them. There's probably a whole lot of good. It's still a good book overall, just with some problems that made it difficult for us to really sink into completely.
Yeah.
And we're going to go over some of these because there is a lot of stuff for us to go like, I don't think this is how this would work. I don't think this is how that should work. To start, since I ended the first half on the cliffhanger of everyone's a selfish asshole, let's go straight into that.
Okay.
Right? Oh, wait, shit, no. The summary.
The summary.
The summary. Alright.
Do you want me to do
the
it?
summary.
Oh, okay.
No, I can read it. This is for the people who have not read the book and still want to hear us talk about it. This is trying to just give you all the main bullet points, right? So, the story follows two major characters, Ellen, a human girl, and Shard, a male dragon. Each with traumas and personal trials, but who grow close over the course of the story, initially meeting each other for magic lessons at night. They learn of each other, their histories and their cultures, and soon become friends. The first that either one has had in their lives. Ellen was born magic deficient, meaning she could not use human magic as well as others her age, and yet she wants to join the Guild, a group of elementalists that go out of the city's boundaries to steal orichalcum from the dragons, who are believed to be wild, monstrous, and unintelligent. Orichalcum is used to power the generators to keep the dome, a shield of some sort, operational so that the dragons cannot invade and attack the human cities. Shard is much nicer and pacifistic than what dragons are supposed to be, and so is ridiculed and even beat by his older brother, a real alpha Chad among the drakes. His uncle, the chieftain, does not approve or support Shard in his unmanly hobbies, and so Shard has trouble fitting in with his own kind. A magic ring mysteriously appears in Ellen's room, later revealed to be given by her mother, the goddess Pandora, which teleports her to Shard when it's twisted 3 times, and back home when activated again. The two support each other, growing close, becoming friends, Ellen learning her own style of magic and becoming confident in herself, and Shard learning to love himself and to stand up for himself. In the climax, Shard's brother is brought to trial. Ellen and Shard's friendship is discovered and violently reacted to by the dragons. The two friends fuse into some sort of celestial monster to fight off Inferno, the dragon chieftain, and Shard is then banished from his village for siding with humans. Alright, so.
Let me do it.
Okay.
So, the reason why I hated all the characters in this book, except for Keeper, the first thing that really, really made me not like Ellen was there was a quote where when she shows up, I think it's the second or third time for her magic lesson, and Shard was painting, and she kind of almost catches him, and he gets really defensive.
No, she does. She looks over his shoulder, not over his shoulder. She's bigger, but it's like what you drawing kind of deal.
Yeah, and he gets really defensive, and whatever. And at one point in the conversation, she says, "I promise I'm not going to hit you." And it's like, first of all, how fucking dare you even assume that you'd be capable of doing anything to him? You're a human, and he's way bigger than you. And
it's the sentiment.
It's the sentiment.
He was obviously
but
cowering and acting like he was going to get hit.
But in that situation, Ellen could have said 100 different things that were better than "I'm not going to hit you." Because when someone is cowering and expecting to get hit for any reason, the last thing you want to do is use the word hit in your "don't worry, I'm not going to do something," because you're just, putting that image back into their head. You say, "Hey, calm down. I'm your friend." "Hey, calm down. Don't worry about it."
This is an example of when I said a lot of times some of the interconnecting scenes felt forced or rushed. A lot of times the dialogue felt forced in this sort of sense because, it's very blunt, very on the nose, very, "Hey, I promise I'm not going to hit you," instead of a more natural, "Hey, are you okay? What's wrong? You seem tense. Why are you cowering?" Look behind you to see if he's looking at something, but he's cowering down and shivering, so look behind you, see if there's something behind you, right? It does feel a little weird that she would immediately assume, he's scared of me. because I caught him drawing. It's like, that's information she doesn't have at that time. This was before she found out that male dragons are not supposed to paint at all. That's for women only, and I get beat for it because my brother and uncle don't approve. So I feel like some of the dialogue was very blunt and very forced because they
It
were
had to
acting
push
as
the
if they knew
story.
stuff. Yeah, to make it move faster, right?
Yeah.
At one of my bullet points on this, like, because when I'm reading, I'll open a document and leave bullet points of my thoughts during certain points. One of them is just like, wow, this is moving really fast. Holy shit.
A lot of the conversations in this book do not flow as actual intelligent people would have conversations. I think that to me is the biggest thing. The the dialogue seems to be, just rammed in there with a hammer to advance the scene or advance the plot. Um, there are so many conversations where I'm like, wow, a normal person would like not say that.
Mm.
Or, there's so many more gentle or caring or loving ways to word that instead of, that there's a scene later on where the two of them are arguing. And this is the part that made me hate Ellen completely. Like, just throw her off a cliff. I don't care about her. And it was when Shard was talking suicidally, like, I'm gonna kill myself, like I bring no worth to this world, blah 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 blah. And Ellen says, "How could you do this to me when my mom killed herself?" Like,
Right.
how?
So that's that scene, the when Charlotte's like, sometimes I just want to die, and like what the suicide ideation scene. That's what we're gonna call it, right? So when we're having that comes after Ellen has told like her story, her past to Shard. Like, oh yeah, my mom killed herself when I was very young, and that really messed me up because I always feel like everyone's just gonna leave me now, right? And it's like the next day he's like, sometimes I just want to die, and she's all like, how could you do this to me? Why would you say that after I told you about my mom? And it's like, on the one hand, yeah, definitely, like, after sharing that, why would you, like, prove her right? Everyone's just gonna leave me. Like, I get that. But on the other hand, to go, like, with what I said before the break, everyone's a selfish asshole, is like her response being, how could you do that to me? Like,
Why?
like,
Let's take your trauma and make it all about me.
yeah, because Shard is also going through some really rough times right now. Like, this was after the trial, after his brother's trial, after he's been beaten almost to death, right? Um, and it seems like his brother just got away, and it's like he's probably going to come back angrier later and finish the job, and like he tried to stand up for himself, and nothing came of it, and whatnot. It's like Shard at this point is going through a really rough time.
The proper response
Which,
from his quote unquote friend would be to put a hand on his shoulder and say, "Listen, let me tell you about how I felt when my mom killed herself. Let me tell you about what that does to the people around you. Like, to sympathize with him, to calm him down, to be kind, to use the softest of pillows in your words, not yell at him. How could you say that when my mom killed herself? Fuck you." And then that started the whole fight. And the thing is that again, it felt super forced because you needed the character to then teleport back home and throw the ring and break it, thus making it so that they couldn't see each other
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. I will devil's advocate a little bit here. While a normal person would be like, "Hey, that's not the proper thing to think. We can, to like you said, to just be more gentle and understanding about it." While a normal person would be like that, or should, Ellen is not normal. She has her own trauma, and I can understand why she would jump to that. But it doesn't make it any less selfish that she would jump to that.
The two of them are gasoline and fire, and they really should not be together.
They
I guess that's part of the God's Gambit,
they
They
they're way too codependent, and so when one of them crumbles, the other one goes down with them. So on topic of everyone's a selfish fucking asshole. When we get revealed that Ellen's mom was the goddess Pandora, you find out that the reason she killed herself is because she found out that her daughter was magic deficient, and so her plan was not going to work. So I'm going to kill off the physical body I put myself in, so that I can go back to Godland and go back to the drawing board.
Do you know? Do you know
And
what?
like,
Do you know what that reminded me of? That whole scene, the Invincible scene with Omni-Man. I guess I'll just start over, make another kid. It's like, so I don't give a shit about you. And
Yeah,
I will say that dialogue between Ellen and her mom was one of the few instances of dialogue where I was like, yeah, tell her. She's like, oh, so you found out I was broken and you just killed yourself to avoid me? And it's like, yeah, no,
yeah,
100%. Everything she
yes,
said in that dialogue was what I would say. And I'm like, good, finally.
yeah. But like, it's just like how that such a selfish motivation from Pandora, the mom. Like, oh, I like literally do not care. Kills self, refuses to elaborate, right? But my problem with that scene was then afterwards, after telling the story, she's like choking up, like trying not to cry. The goddess is choking up, trying not to cry. Like, I shouldn't have done that to you. I didn't think that. It's like, no, this feels forced because a god that has existed since the dawn of mankind and dragonkind would not feel attachment to a mortal being that, in the grand scheme of things, exists for a blink of an eye.
Let
Like,
me let me also mention this. Okay, so I am a all-powerful god that is now sealed in a human body, right? Okay? And I
mm-hmm.
have a kid and I'm disappointed with the kid. Do you wander off into the wasteland or whatever and go get killed by a dragon or just die of exposure out in the middle of nowhere, thus leaving your daughter to not know what happened to you? Like, oh, I wonder whatever happened to my mom. Do you do that? Or do you fucking hang yourself so that your daughter will discover your hanging, lifeless body and be traumatized for the rest of her fucking life? That is the dumbest fucking way you could ever kill yourself and have your goddamn kid find your body swinging from a rope instead of just wandering out into the desert or whatever and
Now,
dying of exposure. It's like, you are a god, you can handle the suffering that it's going to take for you to die slowly out in the wilds. But no, I
well,
want my daughter to find my swinging goddamn body.
again, to devil's advocate, me saying that the gods should not care about the humans at all because, you know, these are creatures that exist on vastly different time scales. Yeah, she would, like, she absolutely does not care that her daughter's going to walk in and find it because she doesn't care about the daughter. I feel like the almost crying during the fuck, what's the word? Admission of it later on was forced because I believe that no, the Pandora should not care about Ellen or her emotions at all, especially if she found out, oh, she's broken, I can't use her the way I want her to. So in that little vacuum of instances, the suicide makes sense. Like, yes, the god would do that because she does not care how that's gonna fuck up Ellen later on.
Poison
But
poison yourself then. At least
hanging is a really weird way to do it,
it's a
right?
very fucking weird way to do it.
Like, get a kitchen knife and like plunge it into your heart. If you care that little about your mortal shell or whatever, that should be relatively easy to do and would be much more instantaneous, right? Um, Also, I refuse to believe that a godlike being with the amount of power and presence needed to do the stuff that she's done, everything from first off becoming mortal to mother a child, and then second being able to intervene enough to like give her a magic ring that teleports her, whatever, right? That kind of power, I refuse to believe you can't just like, well, oh well, and like snap fingers and just ascend. Like, do you really have to mortally kill yourself off? Is that
Well,
like a rule for some reason?
okay, my turn to devil's advocate. You never saw the movie Dogma, but
I did.
God. Oh, you did? Okay, so when God put herself into the body of a homeless man, and then
Yeah, I
that
was kept
homeless
in the
man
coma.
was beaten into a coma, but getting kept on life support to be trapped on Earth. I could see it. I could see it. You have to
Yeah,
follow the
but
rules,
see,
I
in that
guess.
no. In that instance, it was
Oh,
because
he
there was
was
a
in a
lack
coma,
of conscious. It was a lack of consciousness. The
right?
second the coma ended, it's not like the homeless man's like, "Well, I better go kill myself real fast. I can become a god again." It's like, no. The second they were conscious, they were like, "Boom, okay, all powerful again. I'm over here now.
That
I'm
is,
blowing up Satan
yeah.
or
Never
whatever."
mind. I withdraw my devil's advocate.
So like this scene feels like the author had two ideas and they wanted to use both, but neither idea plays well with each other. The idea of A, I want Ellen's mom to be the goddess, and B, I need Ellen's mom to have killed herself for the sake of the trauma, right? both are good ideas that can have very good stories behind them, but both at the same time causes a lot of really weird interactions. Like that shouldn't work that way, or why did this happen this way, or whatever, right?
I think the story could have had just as much impact of Ellen discovering, that her mom is the goddess without the suicide. Like her mom just disappeared one day. And she's like, "Oh my
If the
God, it's my mom," and then they can have that conversation.
yeah,
But
if the takeaway was my mom left me, if that was the takeaway, then the infinite milk run would have worked just fine.
the infinite milk run, just going out for coffee and cigarettes. The thing is that the entire time reading this book, I felt like there was just someone next to me slapping me in the face, going, "Be sad, be sad, be sad, be sad," and it's like I'm not though. Like this is cringy. I yeah, I, I don't want the author to feel discouraged. It is a good. The fact that I cannot, for the life of me, fucking sit down and write a book, even though I have the whole goddamn story in my head. It's like the moment I come home from work, I'm like, "Buh, I don't want to do shit." And we even had another author who gave us the advice of, just swallow the frog, just get it over with, just do some writing. And it's like, you still can't bring myself to fucking do it because I'm always overanalyzing every little thing. And it's like, I shouldn't. I should just sit down and write. And I'm very proud of you for having done that. At the same time,
okay, look, like all the problems I have with your character development and your story points and whatnot, I'm still very proud of you that you did this because you've done something that I've wanted to do, and
that I still want to do.
I have a corkboard with all my plot points written on index cards sitting there in order. All I need to do is take each card and turn it into a chapter, and that's it. Like everything is written down and pre-planned. I'm a planner. It's already planned out. It's sitting there. Do it. Just put in the man hours.
I'm a pantser.
No.
But yeah,
so I'm sorry we're tearing apart some of your finer points of the story here, but still, good job. It's still a good book. I'm still happy that I read it. Right.
I will say this. I mean, it's not a book that I absolutely hated reading. If I did, I wouldn't have finished it. I even got to the halfway point, and Ray's like, "Well, all I ask is that you get halfway through." And I was like, "No, I'll finish it." It's it's not so offensive that I don't want to read it. It's just like because there have been books where sorry,
like Tooth and
Claw and Mating Flight.
Two of my favorite books that I love to death.
And I hate them.
I reread Tooth and Claw because it has audio and I can do it much easier. I reread Tooth and Claw like once a year at least. If Mating Flight had an audiobook, I would reread that once a year too because I love them both. He did not finish those because he hated them so much.
I hated both.
He still finished. So, in his personal opinion, this is
way better than those critically acclaimed novels. Yeah, Tooth and Claw and Mating Flight were the equivalent of someone speaking a foreign language from down a hall at me, and me just my eyes glazing over, and I'm like, this is the most boring thing I've ever done in my life. I hate this. And thankfully we had Dilettante, so it wasn't just one person talking and the other person going.
We need to get him back. I wonder if our schedule change will let him come back.
Maybe. Actually, yeah, it might. Yeah, so
I'll talk to him about that.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end of the episode. About the schedule change. Not that it's going to really affect most people, aside from the people that are sitting live in our audience. But
yeah. So I want to interject on the topic of finishing the book, right? So I will admit, and I guess I maybe could have said this during the first half, the spoiler-free half. I struggled with this book so hard for the first quarter of it, the first third, right?
Yeah, I'll back that up.
It took a while for the ball to get rolling, for me to see what you were going for. Again, the first chapter with Shard, I'm like, wow, you made these dragons cartoonishly evil. Holy heck, right? It took a while for me to get what you were going for, but then at one point I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. This is what you wanted to do. And once everything started clicking together, I got invested. I'm like, okay, I want to see where this goes. Once I got to Firebug's chapter, I love Firebug, by the way. She's one of my favorite characters. Once I got to Firebug's chapter, I'm like, okay, this is interesting. I want to see where this goes. I want to see what happens with Firebug. I want to see what happens with Keeper once we get to his trial and whatnot. Did not care about Ellen's side of the story that much. I actually I started skipping paragraphs during the Quidditch match, the Blitzball game, the whatever it was called.
Blast Ball.
Just
Yeah,
because,
I didn't care about that either.
I care so little about sports that even fantasy sports make me go, ugh, okay. So I'm gonna make sure I just get the dialogue that's important between Ellen, Lana, and the Guildmaster, whatever his name is. But I'm gonna skip massive chunks of this because I just don't like it took a while to get going, but I got invested in some of these characters later on. The beginning was a little rough though, and I don't really know what advice I can give you on that.
Yeah, the Blast Ball game to me was the same reason why I never finished Final Fantasy X, because once they are like, "Hey, let's play Blitzball," and I'm like, "I don't want to. I really don't want to," and they're like, "No, we're gonna play Blitzball," and I'm like, "All right, I'm done." I skipped over. I mean, I skipped over the whole Blast Ball thing too, because it's just like it felt like such a shoehorned like, "Hey, we're gonna talk about sports for a while," and it's like I don't give a shit.
We tangented in a really weird pattern. I don't know where we left off.
uh,
Trisnix, yes, that I pretty much did not like the Quidditch parts in Harry Potter either. I just didn't care.
Yeah, yeah. The Quidditch stuff in Harry Potter was also a good example of that. It's like I don't care. Um, where we left off. Let's talk about the trial.
Okay.
So yeah, the at one point in the story, Keeper beats Shard so savagely that Shard is basically going to die.
Uh,
Um,
I want to interject real fast to say that what sets this off is not Keeper, Shard thinks, Shard overhears Firebug talking about, oh, Keeper's going to propose, but I don't want to, right? And he's like, wait, does Keeper beat her too? Oh my god, that's terrible. And so he pulls Firebug away to ask her, it's like, hey, uh, Keeper doesn't hit you, does he? And she's like, what? No, of course not. And that's kind of like where some of the stuff starts coming to light, where she's like, does he hit you? And it's like, horrified at the thought of it, right?
yeah,
This is kind of where the ball gets rolling on some stuff. But the point is, because Shard pulled Keeper away to talk to her privately, Keeper thought that Shard was trying to steal his girlfriend, and then overreacts, and so later that night, beats him borderline to death.
I
Actually, he
mean,
would have died if
I,
Ellen
I
wasn't
think
there.
he would have died if Ellen didn't show up because Ellen shows up and uses magic and manages to learn Earth magic, which she kind of shouldn't know, according to the story. She skipped over a couple elements or something, but she manages to break open the roof of the cave, which allows moonlight to spill in to heal him. But Keeper beats him so savagely that Shard was gonna die, and so Shard decides to stick up for himself for once and actually report it. And so he reports it to Inferno and their uncle. And Inferno is like, all right, we're going to have a trial. And at the trial, Shard tells him exactly what happened. And then
Yes.
Keeper.
So their trials is, I'm going to tell you story A, they're going to tell you story B, and then you guys decide which story sounds more realistic.
Yeah, except
Right?
Keeper was like, no, yeah, I beat the shit out of him.
I didn't try to kill him, but I beat him because
I
he tried to steal my girl, and that's what
yeah
you taught me to do.
yeah, and
You
that's
taught
what
me
you
to
taught me
be
to
you
do.
taught me to be manly, macho, and to not let
And
people get away with stuff. So I hit
and
him.
and this is why I sympathize with Keeper. I'm not saying that Keeper is a good dragon. I'm not saying that this personality trait that Keeper has is good. But in the context of the story, Inferno has been destroying all of Shard's artwork, telling him that he needs to be more manly, and basically emotionally torturing him by destroying the things that bring him joy. And also has been teaching these same things to Keeper. So Keeper is the model dragon, according to Inferno. Inferno created this monster, and this monster nearly killed his other nephew. And
It's
so,
worth pointing out that the only reason Inferno had a problem with this was because he almost killed by almost killing Shard. It's not like, oh, you almost killed somebody. Keeper's mind, not Keeper. Inferno's mindset was is that everyone in the village belongs to him. These are all my dragons. I own all these dragons, and I'm going to turn you into what I believe dragons should be, and you're going to do what I say and all that, right?
Yeah.
And so the problem isn't that Keeper almost killed someone. The problem is, Keeper, you almost killed one of my dragons. So like, if Keeper had
Again,
done this to
selfish
somebody from
shit.
a different, yeah. So if Keeper had done this to somebody else from like a different village somewhere, Inferno would not a kid. He'd be like, no, that's my boy, standing up for yourself like I taught
Yeah.
you to. You showed that weakling who's boss. The only problem was that because Shard belongs to me, you did a wrong thing.
Yeah, it's another example of characters being selfish assholes, and
Mm-hmm.
so at any rate, so Keeper admits to it, which I think is a good character trait. He's honest. He admits to it, and he's like, "But that's what you taught me to do. You taught me to stick up for myself and to defend
Yeah,
what's mine."
yeah.
And
Keeper
so,
literally did not think he did anything wrong.
yeah, and that is not Keeper's fault. That is Inferno's fault, which makes sense because Inferno's the big bad at the end of the book. But
Mm-hmm.
uh, I sympathize with Keeper. Like, he was absolutely outraged. Like, why am I getting in trouble? Yeah, I did everything that you taught me a dragon is supposed to
Yeah.
do.
In fact, when the ruling is given, where it's like, Keeper, we find you guilty because I do believe you tried to kill your brother. We're gonna take you into the council room or whatever to mete out your punishment. Keeper actually looks and feels betrayed. He was betrayed. He was lied to. How could you do this to me? I only ever did what you told me to do. Which, honestly, is a great character point on Keeper. Again, I'm not condoning the way he's behaving, but I'm loving the way he's thinking. Like, this intricacies of his mind actually make sense to me and made me like him because his struggles felt believable.
Yeah.
Especially when we get the little flashback to
Yeah,
mom
oh,
time.
yeah. And so we get a flashback later on during the final fight where I guess Shard kind of like taps into his memories or whatever and
Yeah,
realizes that.
Keeper gets put under basically a mind control spell. We'll get into that later because I got problems with that.
Yeah.
And so when Shard breaks it, by doing so, he's got to like reach his influence into his mind because dragon magic has to deal with expanding senses or something. So he breaks breaks Keeper out of the spell, and by doing so, gets like a burst of. I'm
His
guessing.
memories.
I'm guessing it's specifically the memory that is for to use in and out. It's his core memory. It's the memory that caused him to go down the path he's now on. It is the memory that is at the center of the person he is today.
Yeah, and it's the memory of his mom constantly taking Shard out to go exploring and be mom and son, and then
Yeah,
leaving Keeper behind and
it's like
excluding him. And it's like, oh no, baby, this is just for me and Shard. And it's like, well, fuck you, mom.
it's
Like,
like mom. It's like, Mom, can I play with you today? No, honey, this is mommy and Shard time. And the thing is, it was always Shard and mom time.
yeah,
Keeper never got a chance. And here's the thing. Their mom was also the goddess Pandora, right? She's influencing way so much. She was like, I'm gonna go and become a dragon and give birth to this dragon, who's my first chess piece, and then, personal theory, she forced the husband to kill her because like, oh, I gotta kill off this body so I can go and make piece number two now, right? Again,
well, no, I
selfish
think I
fucking
think I
behavior.
think Ellen, whatever her name is, was first because at the end of the book,
Oh, okay,
Shard
okay, I
Shard
got it backwards.
mentions I have an older sister.
Right, because he's only like 6 in dragon years because
So
he had to
so
have them go at
the
different ages again. Ugh.
yeah, the core of this is that gods are fucking stupid, and despite how long she's lived, she knows nothing, and she does nothing but fuck shit up.
Right. The point is, she only cares about Shard because Shard is her chess piece in this bet against her brother, right? And so she puts all her attention into Shard to try to turn him into what she needs him to be for the future. And so Keeper gets completely like ignored. She literally does not love Keeper. And so to have a young person not be loved by their parent, which is something that I have never had to deal with because my parents love me, I'm very lucky that way. But I can understand how damaging that is to a young individual. And so, of course, he's going to grow up to resent his brother.
Yeah,
It's
just
like one of his memories was like I should have been the one to get the damn magic, then everything would have been fine, and she never would have done this to me, right? It's like I understand why Keeper is hurting the way he's hurting and why he did what he did.
yeah.
Again, not condoning it, but I understand it. Keeper was the best written character.
So Keeper was the best written character, and Inferno was the best character overall for me, because it felt like every line of his dialogue and every description of his actions and movements in between his dialogue was so carefully, meticulously crafted. Like, everything about Inferno was fucking great. Like, I actually just really liked out of the whole thing, I liked Keeper and I liked Inferno. And I felt like the book was trying to tell me, like, no, you're wrong for that. Like, no, these are terrible people and you shouldn't like them. I'm like, I like them a lot more than the other characters.
Oh boy, we took away the wrong message from this book, didn't we?
We kind of did, but like I'm not gonna go too deep into it. But, and feel free to cut this if you want. But growing up, I only had my mom. My dad was not in the picture, gone forever. And then my mom went through a series of stepdads. Almost every single one of them beat me and abused me, either verbally or physically. Like, I've told Ray this. My real life last name is shared by a guy who choke slammed me against the wall to the point where my feet weren't on the ground. And like, I've dealt with physical abuse. I it didn't really fuck me up. Like, I know that that's not probably the right lesson to take away from that, but I got older and I just went, yeah, that was something that happened in my life. I don't feel like it changed who I am. I don't feel like it put me on a different path. I don't feel sorry for myself. And so when I see other people who, had their Xbox taken away, and then they post like, oh, I'm going to kill myself, and it's like, get over yourself.
Yeah, okay, that's an example of get over yourself. That's an example of you're so spoiled that the minus inconvenience is like, oh, the world is over. It's like that. I hate that because that belittles the people that actually do have issues that need help.
And
right?
that's how I felt about Shard. Like, oh, he keeps burning my paintings. Oh, I'm such a worthless dragon. I hate myself. Yes, Keeper beating him was a bad thing, and I understand that contributed to it. But the baseline for his misery is that I can't do the things that I want to do. I want to paint. I don't want to be a macho dragon. I don't want to eat animals. I want to be a vegetarian and I want to paint. And
the thing
that's
is, like, you could just leave the town and live by yourself, and then you could paint and no one would ever hit you again. But then you'd have to eat animals. Oh no, I guess you have to pick which one means more to you.
yeah. And so to me, it just felt like, stop fucking whining. Like, the thing is that it's hard for me to say this stuff because I don't want anyone to think that I'm just like, oh, you had a rough childhood, well, get the fuck over it. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say, but it's the fact that, like, Shard is very much the type of person that grew up having he had a mom who loved him, who constantly took him out, and it's like, at any point, as an empathetic being, can you not see that this damaged Keeper and have sympathy for him and try to be closer to your fucking brother? But Shard just looked at him as like some sort of, invader to his personal space and treated him like shit.
I'm hoping that they do become closer in some of the following books because I feel like they kind of ended on like semi-better terms.
Yeah, when he's like, I hate you, and he's like, I hate you too. But he said it lovingly.
They said it endearingly. Like, I understand why you're the way you are, and I'm sorry that this happened to you. I can't forgive you for everything you put me through, but like, I understand, and maybe in the future they can reconcile a bit more.
Maybe.
On the top, so I this has been like gnawing in the back of my brain, so I'm just going to bring it up now. So back to the topic of a lot of the scenes felt really forced. Why did Inferno have to take Ellen away to fight her one-on-one?
For story reasons, of course. No.
It's like, literally had her in his claws. I hate humans. You killed my sister. I'm going to kill you. Do it. She's.
Do you want to know why? Do you want to know why? It's because he needed to monologue.
He had to
because all
monologue.
villains need to monologue.
It
The
was a forced villain
this
monologue.
is this
Holy
is not
shit.
this is not a critique of this book. This is a critique of the trope. But the amount of times that you see in movies and TV shows or read in books where the bad guy has the good guy, all he has to do is thrust the sword forward or pull the trigger or drop the axe or whatever. All the bad guy has to do is one simple motion and all of his troubles are gone. But no, he has to sit there and fucking monologue. It's
Th-
goddamn syndrome. You got me monologuing. And it's like,
yeah,
stop fucking monologuing. You hate humans, you think they're scum, you think they're monsters, you blame them for your entire like young life being miserable. Fucking kill her, rip her to
yeah.
shreds. Do
It's
not
like
give her the courtesy of telling her your whole fucking plan about how you're gonna kill her. Just do it.
it's like if you needed the audience, the readers, to know, because they're like, well, they have to know why Inferno hates humans so much. Like, then have it be a soliloquy, right? You've already changed the point of view in chapters a whole lot. Like, we've got some Firebug chapters. We had some Keeper chapters. Heck, we had a chapter with the freaking Guildmaster during that one interlude, right? So just have a chapter when do a chapter jump to his point of view when he first sees Ellen. He stands there in shock for a bit, and like what was 3 seconds in the real world was like him
A chapter.
PTSD flashbacking, like so we can see from his point of view, his memory, why he hates humans so much, and like that would have told us what we need to know without having this forced monologue.
Yeah, it's
But I
like
think the other problem was that the author needed Ellen to know because she has to forgive him at the end, right? We get the Super Saiyan fusion dance. They turn into like a weird celestial dragon monstrosity thing, and they kick his ass. And they're like, "No, we won't kill you because we're the good guys. Just promise never to do anything evil ever again." It's like that was a weak fucking ending. Bantam's typing, so he can't talk right now.
Sorry. I was just comparing. I was comparing like it. It's unrelated to the book. Just like scenes, like where a good guy has the bad guy at gunpoint and then gets really close and like puts the gun up to the bad guy's forehead and then looks away because something annoys and the bad guy does the slap reversal, has the gun, and it's like that frustrates me endlessly. And then you have movies like Kingsman, where Galahad comes out of the fucking church and he's like, "Oh, I suppose this is the part where you take me prisoner, whatever. Give me a whole speech monologue, whatever."
Yeah,
And
the
he's
James
like,
Bond
and he's
villain
like,
thing.
"No, this ain't that kind of movie," and then shoots him in the fucking head. The first time I saw that, I screamed with joy. I was so goddamn happy. And then they did it again at the end of the movie when Lancelot is confronting the bad guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm here to stop you." He goes, "Do you think that I was ever going to give you a chance to stop me? I finished my plan hours ago." And I was like, yes, yes. I
But
fucking
yeah,
hate tropes. And when I do someday, TM, fucking put a pin in it, finish my goddamn book, there's going to be so many anti-tropes. I don't even care if the book does terribly. I don't give a shit if anyone hates if people hate my book. Basically my book is going to be a fuck you to standard novel writing. That's all the tropes. Fuck them.
but yeah, since you probably didn't hear what I said because you were typing, I was just talking about how at the end, how when they beat Inferno, they spare him because they're the good guys, so we can't kill you. Just promise to do no evil ever again.
Oh,
And just how dumb that was.
the whole speech was so fucking stupid. They were talking to him like a valley girl. And I told it to Ray. I messaged him when I finished the book, and I said that the whole ending conversation was so cringy and stupid to me. That shit. Where is it? Yeah. When they merge into a celestial being, they talk like a fucking tweenager, not teenager, tweenager. Uh, and Ray said, "Well, to be fair, the tween would affect the tween would affect the speech of the dragon in this one instance. And I said, no, they already both talk like teenagers, so the merge just made it worse. They talk to Inferno like an older brother would talk to like their little kid who just broke their Lego set. Like, no, you can't do that. Don't do that. Okay, I'm gonna leave. Don't do that anymore. Like, it seemed like such a childish way to talk to something that just tried to murder you and is, super evil or whatever. And it's like, it frustrated the crap out of me because it felt like this whole book was just friendship is magic, high five, like it was, like I could see after they beat the crap out of him, I could see them splitting and then high fiving in a pyramid over his, body on the ground. Like, we're not going to kill you because we're good guys. And then slow motion high five over his body and then roll credits. Like, that whole speech, that's what that felt like to me. Like, no, kill him. Squish him like a grape. And if you're not going to do that, then pick up his body and fling it into, like, all the other, and be like, let that be a lesson to the rest of you. Don't fuck with us. And then you can take off.
Mhm.
I do like the fact that all the other dragons didn't really exactly know who to side with, though, because if I think the thing that would have made me just stop reading and be like, nope, I'm done, is if you know Shard gave like some impassioned speech and then all the dragons turned on Inferno. And like they're all surrounding him and he's like, curse you, and then flies away. Like, I think that would have been uh, the straw that broke the camel's back for me. So I'm actually really happy to know that like the other dragons were like, well, he's our leader, so like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Don't take my anger when I'm talking about stuff like this. I just get really impassioned when I'm on a topic that, I like. Uh, I also swear a lot. I'm from Boston. I'm sorry. But yeah, I did not hate this book. As much as it sounds like I do, I didn't hate it. If I hated it, I wouldn't have finished it. If I hated it, I would have begged. I mean, we did delay by a week, but that was because we were both very sick.
Yes, still getting
But
over it.
if I did hate it, I would have been like, hey, can we just like not review this book? Like, can we just do something more fun?
It's kind of funny. Like I already admitted that the start was really rough for me to get through. Right, it took like a third of the book for me to be like, oh, okay, I get it. I'm digging it. I see. Right. So it was funny though, because at the start of the book, when I started, I was like, Bantam, we've made a great mistake.
Yeah,
I'm
and
going to review
I
this.
forgot to mention that I felt the exact same way. The book started so slow and so plotting and meandering that I wasn't interested whatsoever. But then, and I don't exactly know where the exact moment happened, but it started to pick up a lot for me. And I was like, all right, I see where it's going,
Yeah, like to point out one of the things that I really liked. All right, when I say that there were some really good scenes, and it struggled to get to them every now and then. One of the scenes that I really liked. I'm gonna try to remember the context. It was, I think it's right before they did the fuse thing. It's when they were like bearing their souls to each other, or whatever. And at some point, like Ellen says, "Don't hate me because you ain't me," right? Just she's being a little dork, or whatever, right? I don't remember what they were talking about at the time, but she said basically says like, "Don't hate me," right? And she's being silly, but then like completely serious. Shard says, "Hate you, I love you because you're you," and it's like just that line was like really powerful. I don't know why I enjoyed it so much, but just like I don't know. I've explained before that I really like strong emotions in characters when they're done well, and like that just felt like one of the strong emotional points because it was these two characters finally like coming to terms with themselves and each other's, and I don't know how to explain it, but I really liked that. That was really good.
But yeah, I didn't
I'm just
hate the
scanning over my
I.
notes so fast.
It's like I didn't hate the book. I wouldn't even put it in my bottom 5. Uh, it's just it was endlessly frustrating because if this book is trying to help you deal with traumas, yeah, it kind of helped me deal. Well, it kind of cemented a trauma I had, which is dealing with sad, perpetually miserable people. Like I don't like dealing with them. And so now I'm reading a book full of those people. And it just made me think back to the friends that I was like, you know what, I'm done with you. And go, yeah, I made the right decision.
uh, well, fast and over a couple points on my list here. These are just completely personal opinions on like the flavor of certain things. For example, I don't like how the two deities were basically human shaped during their interludes when she was in the center of the universe with her brother in the prison. She was described as like a cloaked humanoid figure or whatever. And it's like I don't like the fact that in a world with two sapient species that both the deities just look like humans. Like
I
on
prefer
the
to
Earth,
imagine they look like the Heartless or the whatever, not the Heartless. What are the other ones? The ones that look like cloaks from Kingdom Hearts.
oh, they're the
Just
Organization 13.
trying to be edgy. Like,
Trying to
we're
be
gods.
enigmatic.
No one can see us, but we're gonna be
Well,
edgy.
like what I was gonna say is like in a lot of Earth-based media, or just on Earth in general, the reason why God, the one singular monotheistic Christian God, is generally portrayed as human, is because it is the humans are the only sapient species on this world, and they believe that God made them to look in His image. So God has to look like humans. God looks like just like a really handsome, kind of old-looking guy, right? In a lot of cartoons, like in Family Guy, when they want to draw God, it's just a dude in a white robe with a very long, flowy white beard, basically like Zeus is usually portrayed, right? But that's kind of unique to Earth and real life and whatnot, right? I feel like in a world where there's two sapient species, that the deities should probably look like neither of them. They should be almost indescribable, or just look like some other really weird thing, or something like that, right? But having both of them sitting there in their little center of the universe hangout zone as basically just being people, I just didn't like that. But that's just a personal flavor quandary that I have. Uh, yeah, I don't know. It's not really much else I really nitpick on. Like Star Sight, I don't like time based anything, even Future Sight, because I feel like it's a can of worms. So you handled Star Sight pretty well. It didn't become a problem, but I guess just be careful in the future books. Time magic is tricky. At the very least, Agito should have been a dragon. A dragon shaped deity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Uh, one of my notes is just dragon hug heart emoji. It's like, yeah, the couple scenes when Shard and Ellen were getting close to each other, like emotionally close to each other, and like there's a couple times when Ellen just like hugged Shard, either his neck or his snout. It's like, ah, I love that. I love dragon hugs. And then Shard would like put his wings around Ellen, and she's like in a little cocoon of like darkness and muffled sound because he's just holding her like that. It's like, that's precious. I love that. More of that, please. And I guess something I can talk about real fast is while the fusion itself was weird, the concept itself was fine. Like I enjoyed it when they got really close to each other and they started glowing and they could hear each other's brain thoughts for a bit. It's like that was good. Like I actually enjoy Dragon Rider settings. Like Bantam's like, no, the whole book should be dragons all the time, always. Like no humans at all. It's like no, I can enjoy having both people together because I enjoy the culture clash. Them just getting to know each other because they literally think differently, right? Which is why I have a problem with humans in dragon suits. Uh, and so, like, I can accept and actually enjoy the concept that humans, which I feel like you might be going for this because this is Pandora's whole point to her brother, right? That humans and dragons belong to each other. That when a human and dragon can get close to each other on a personal emotional level, that they can literally become greater together, right? I don't really like the fusion, but just the fact that they can like connect with each other in like a really weird magical sense, like I don't know how else to explain it, but just like the thought that a human and dragon that get close to each other, they end up like linking mentally, magically, whatever, and like I don't know. I'm talking in circles, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about, Phantom?
No.
No.
I will say this though. I would probably continue reading, like, you know, the
You'd
next
read a
book.
sequel?
I'd read the sequel. Well, because like the other thing that like bothered me about the book was, holy shit, did the end just end? Like, they defeat the big bad, they fly away, they sleep, and then it cuts to some guy feverishly typing and like
Yeah.
going crazy
So
over the possibility that Ellen could be a dragon, and then
yeah. So
end.
as far as like the future plot points, I am not looking forward to the guild hunting down Ellen because they think that she's a dragon in disguise. Like I don't like that plot point. I'm not looking forward to that. I what I would be looking forward to is just more of Ellen and Shard together. Like Shard basically ran away from home. I feel like Ellen should stay with him. Like Ellen, like sucks for her dad, but Ellen should not go back home. Like she's lost both of the rings anyway, right? So I would want the next book to just be them together. They've become friends, but now that they're going to literally live together out in the wild, it's like have the human and dragon equivalent of you've moved in to live with your best friend or your girlfriend or whatever, right? And you're now learning a new side of them because you've never seen the them at home side. And you're starting to see all their bad habits and stuff, right? I feel like that would be a fun topic for the next book. Just they're good friends and they love and care for each other, but wow, I didn't know that they are like that. Huh. That's weird. Kind of stuff, right? That'd be a good vibe for the next book. Also, let's see another Dragon Village. Let's see if they're all as bad as the one Inferno leads.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It would have helped to see how any other dragon village was run. You know, if their leader was kind and gentle, and you know, I mean, that could have even been uh, a better a plot point of, you know, he happens to see another village that's run by a kind and not overbearing leader who is like, well, if you want to paint, then go ahead and paint. You know, like, we
And
also
he's
grow
gonna
lots of
cry and
vegetables.
start painting.
And well, the plot point being is that now Inferno's pissed and, you know, is like, how dare you steal one of quote unquote my dragons, selfish prick. But you know, like, they could have that kind of thing. And then it could have, during the final confrontation, been Tribe A against Tribe B with Ellen and Shard in the middle. You know, like, that would have made a way more interesting final confrontation than, because that way you could have the you know, you see it in video games and TV shows where characters are in the background fighting and no one ever really does anything to each other. You know, they're just constantly fighting in you know, looping animation or some shit. But, you know, you could have at least kept all the other dragons out of the fight so that it's a huge battle and it's full of action and your imagination, but only the main characters are really fighting. Like, that would have been way more interesting, and it would have given Shard a lot more reason to be hopeful, you know, instead of, I'll just kill myself.
Yeah, so here's a weird prediction for the future that I have, and I kind of see this coming, but I hope it doesn't because it would have a whole lot of it would have its own problems. So, Firebug's vision of the big scary monster that's going to destroy the Dragon Village, right? She thought that was going to be those two. She's like, I was wrong. It wasn't you two. My vision has not come to pass yet. It is still in the future, right? So there's going to be a dragon-human fusion that's going to destroy the village at some point. I feel like
It's gonna be the Guildmaster and Inferno.
Inferno. I feel like that's what what they're trying to foreshadow, and I hate that. It's good. It's the villain of the humans and the villain of the dragons. So like I get the concept, but it's gonna suck because
Well, I don't think he's really the villain of the humans. He's just he's got the wrong idea. Like he thinks that Ellen is a dragon,
right, but he
and
also just hates dragons in general. Like
well, yeah,
they're all
he
monsters. We got to stop them all and whatnot. But
yeah.
like the reason it's gonna suck if the author goes through with that is because Inferno hates all humans and the Guildmaster hates all dragons. And what
But
possible way do they become close enough that let's unite our hatred and just wipe
oh,
out everyone together?
do you want to
It's
know?
like
I actually know.
what?
Because if Shard and Ellen are to get their way, dragons and humans will become friends and interconnect their societies. And neither one of them want that. They like the fact that they're separated and safe. And so
It's gonna suck.
if dragons and humans start commingling, both of those two parties are going to fucking hate that. And they're going to put aside their differences temporarily, specifically out of hate, to just either kill everybody or kill Shard and Ellen and be like, let this be a lesson to the rest of you.
Yep. I hope Keeper gets a human. He needs a friend. Give Keeper a friend.
Yeah. Keeper is best boy. He is. I love him.
All right. So let's wrap this up.
Yeah. So what I was going to say at the end of the podcast was that we normally work graveyard shift, and for those who don't know what graveyard shift is, it's 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. We're being forcibly moved off of graveyard shift, so we will be working swing shift, which is afternoon to night, and it sucks for me. Ray's not that upset about it, but it's possibly temporary. So our recording time may change to be a couple hours.
This won't really affect any of you, so I don't know why he's sharing it.
Well, because we might be able to get Dilatan back. Dilatan left because it was becoming increasingly more difficult for him to be here at the time frame that we had. We might be able to convince Dilatan to come back.
We'll see. I think that might have been his excuse, but he probably just doesn't want to read.
Probably doesn't want to read, yeah.
But
We'll bring him back for all the movies and TV shows.
But nah, he doesn't get to have the candy if he can't have his vegetables first.
Oh, that's true.
Anyway, so thanks for joining us, everybody. We hope we didn't ruffle your feathers too much. Just keep in mind, there's all our opinions, but yeah, there's our review and our discussion on Smash the World Shell.
Oh, you didn't do the 0 out of 10 and would you live here, or 0 out of 5 and would you live here?
No, we did that at the first half.
No, you did the how well does it realize, dragon stuff.
No, I asked you. You gave it 2 out of 5 stars, and you said you wouldn't live here. I gave it 3 out of 5 and said I would.
Oh, that's true. You're right.
You dumb butt.
I would.
We're both sick. Cut us some slack. But yeah, if you have anything you want to say to me, come say it to my face. Bantam, tell me where my face is.
It's right there on your shoulders. Your face is at email, wadpodcastmail@gmail.com. We also have a Discord. It'll be linked in the show notes. Ray has his own little section there. We have a lot of sections, or a lot of little subgroups that you can, like after episode discussions or post episode, questions that you can put stuff in there if you had a problem with something or you want to bitch. That's totally fine. We're not gonna ban you or kick you out because you have differing opinions. We only kick you out or ban you if you try to solicit commissions from people and do not participate in discussions.
Yeah, we had a couple people that would come in and start mass private messaging people, be like,
private messaging people, and then I would check and see that they never once spoke publicly in any of the servers. They were just joining and then privately messaging. So I banned them because it's a high possibility that they're scammers, but also it's like that's not how you get clients if you're an artist.
The point is, we have an email. He gave that. We have a Discord. Links are weird, so it's in the show notes. I guess you can.
And we have a Patreon at World of.
Patreon, that's right.
We have a Patreon at World of Dragons Podcast. And
Yep.
we would like to thank.
Yeah, $2 shows your support. $5 gives you access to join the live recordings, as well as I have the raw, unedited files for those of you who have missed the live recordings, so you can get those there. And the $10 are just you love us and we love you, and you get a special shout out. Currently, our $10 supporters are Elite Guard, as they were, are Terran, Ascension, and Tricenix. Thank you both for your support. If you want to get in contact with me personally, because Bantam has stopped running social media, I log into Twitter like once a week. I'm at Demonancer, DEMONANCER. I believe that's also my user handle on Reddit, but I haven't checked. I think that's my user handle on Reddit.
Yeah, I don't. When we first started the podcast, I made a Twitter account, and then Twitter started going downhill. And now, in order for me to tweet, I'd have to pay money. So the Twitter can die.
I spend most of my time on Telegram, Discord, and Reddit. And
And
I'm Demonancer on all of those.
I spend 1,000% of my time on Telegram, and that's it. And my handle on Telegram is @birdsnake.
Yep. So come yell at us for our bad opinions on things. Come suggest new things for us to review. Bantam, what are we reviewing next time?
I have no fucking idea.
Alright, so I'll probably clip when we decide. I'll probably clip it onto the end of this episode. There's a decent chance we don't actually do a new episode for like a month or so while we get used to our new schedule and try to figure out how our time is going to peter out. That won't affect uploading at all because I do have a backlog that I need to go through still. That'll only affect the live recordings, so we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it
out. But thank you for joining us, everyone, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.